My name is Janson Broome. I was in a motor vehicle accident on August 22nd, 2011, and I've been working on recovery since. And I sustained a torn left ventricle, which luckily blood clotted, and they had to put a stent in my left aorta, which was the biggest surgery because your heart can blow out at any time, basically. So I literally hung on by a thread. The internal bleedings, they had to stop those, and the lung surgeries as well, because my lungs both completely collapsed and my ribs punctured through the right side. I had a cranial fracture and a lower lumbar spine fracture. I was in my 4th year. I had just recently finished my BA in criminology and sociology at Western. I was still doing a summer class just because I like to do the summer classes. I was in the midst of getting my law school application ready to apply throughout Canada, and if that didn't work out, I was going to apply to England or the USA.
My name's Dennis Manarey. I'm 66 years old. I had an infection that got into my blood system and got into my spine, my upper spine, and I had spinal cord surgery and was moved over to Parkwood for my rehabilitation. I have 2 rods in my back and 12 screws, and it starts at the T section of your spine, which is just below the neck, and goes down approximately 9 inches. So I was very active. Was involved in slow pitch, bowling, curling, and golf. And Helen and I did a number of trips. We cruised. We were on 5 or 6 cruises, and we were down both coasts of the country and traveling. And when this occurred, it kind of put a real kibosh on all of that extracurricular activity. So we weren't sure whether I was even going to walk again.
My name is Mitch Brogan. I'm 32 years old and I have a C4 incomplete spinal cord injury. I was riding on my bicycle the night of September 16th, 2006, and I was hit from behind by a drunk driver in a car. I was in a coma for several days. When I came back, I didn't really have my wits about me at all. I didn't know what my situation was. I couldn't speak. I didn't know I couldn't walk. It was only after this sort of one moment when a nurse was brushing my teeth when I sort of came to and asked her why I wasn't brushing my teeth. And so she sort of knew that I was sort of there. And then she asked me if anybody had told me what my situation was. I said no, as far as I know. And then she sort of put everything down, held my hands, told me everything that was going on and my situation, and we had a really good cry together, and then I was pretty much aware of my situation.
It makes a big difference when your patients are very motivated and have a lot of drive, and it's our job to do our best to offer them whatever we can do to help them reach their goals.
These right here are 3 of my 4 external fixator screws that repiece my pelvis back together, and I have quite a connection with these, knowing that these were inside my body, and as you can see, that's my blood, and they're in my hips, and getting them removed was something I'll never ever forget for my whole life, because it was a painful experience beyond no comparison to anything else. And you know, I can remember sitting with this thing on and wanting to just tear it off and rip it off. And it was a turning point. Getting these screws out was when I knew it was time to go. It was time for me that I could start recovering again. I could get up and get moving.
I basically had no movement in my legs, no movement in my feet for a long time. There were days that I was down in the dumps. I was quite depressed. A couple of times, even to the point where I was crying. And the whole process decided, when I thought about that, I thought, this is another step in life that I don't want to be defeated with, and decided that I was going to try and do everything in my power to get back at least on my feet and get back to some kind of normalcy in my life if I could.
We had been getting quotes for different machines to get into to try to get to our hospital to get funded for, and one of the vendors told me about a course that was being offered in the States about how to do locomotor training and the clinical aspect of it. So of course I was quite interested in that. I put a proposal together and brought it to our management and our medical staff and the other physiotherapists and other members of the team that I worked with, and everyone was quite enthusiastic about it and wanted to try to pursue it. And so then we ended up sort of putting the program together.
We had a lot of students and research and administration helping us try to put together this program. And Dennis was somebody who was really going to benefit from the locomotor training program. We always ask our patients what their goals are, and he was still in a power wheelchair at this point, and he hadn't really been able to stand or do a lot of sort of walking. He wasn't walking yet, and he was not standing yet either, and in a power chair. And I remember asking him what his goals were, and he looked at me right in the eye and said, well, I want to walk by December 2nd. I thought, okay. And I sort of looked him right back in the eye and I said, okay, well then you need to do everything I tell you to do, and listen to everything I say and work your ass off.
Thought, well, let's give it a try. Let's see what we can do, because they had me at least taking some steps around the floor with this walker, I guess it is. And I was still leaning on that. I wasn't really putting weight on my legs. And with the body weight treadmill, they have you in a harness that can lower you down onto your legs, give you more strength each time you're doing it, so that your own legs and your own strength that's moving. So you start very slow, there's hardly any weight on it, but they get your legs moving. And then they lower the harnesses and give you more weight. And then they can speed up the treadmill as well. And then it's also done for a length of time.
I know he did a fair amount of outpatient therapy afterwards, but he was very excited about, he's innovative, and I think that's what our patients need to be, and what we all need to be is innovative and figure out the best way that we can get people up on their feet.
I discovered the legs in 2007 on my birthday, when a good friend of mine, he emailed me a link. It gave me sort of like this hope for the technology. If they have something like this, they must have others.
Mitch was very interested in the Bionics and in the bionic legs, and it's great because that's the only way he's going to get up on his feet.
So the Rex Bionics legs themselves are $150,000. They were provided for through the insurance company, and I'm capable of riding them every day. I'm able to be in them for about an hour and a half.
I know that he had gone to a wedding in those legs because he really wanted to be at the wedding and dance.
To be able to boogie on down on the dance floor, so that ended up happening.
And he also told me that he fell, but luckily he was not injured.
I had very limited progress in physiotherapy from the hospital and from outside the hospital until I started working with Hans Dyke, and me and him took my fitness to the next level. He took a personal interest in me, and we did a new program week to week because we wanted to up it, just like I was being a hockey athlete again. I was informed about the locomotor program through Keith Sequeira, Dr. Sequeira.
When our doctors recommended that he look at this program, he didn't want to do it because he thought it was too much work and too intensive. But I think they talked him into doing the assessment.
I thought, what does this program have to offer me that Hans and me couldn't have already done?
He'd been doing a lot of strengthening, he'd been doing a lot of intense therapy the whole way along, and he felt he had gone as far as he could. But the difference, what we could do is we could train the nervous system in a way that's a little bit different.
Just the 2 tester sessions, and I knew immediately like that's where I had to be.
He's a great example of training the nervous system versus strengthening. He was different on day 2 in the treadmill than he was on day 1. So even getting his nervous system some exposure to walking in a normal pattern without all those compensatory, he would lean over to the side and collapse at his hip, and we could control for that. Then his system figured it out because he had all that strength underneath that he'd built up with Hans, but his nervous system hadn't figured out how to use it and function, and that the treadmill sort of unmasked what he was capable of.
It allowed my hips to move back more and my back to release, and to kind of get a core built up through again, which I just didn't have. I mean, a walking core, because I had to counterbalance with my weight, with my hips. So it gave me a core structure to build through again. with the new program.
Once he was in the treadmill environment, felt what it felt like to walk. We were able to get him running right off the get-go, and for him being a hockey player and an athlete and liking to work hard, that was a really great for him. You know, Janson, the more the better for him, so he was right on board with the intensity, no question. I
got to be thankful for the program. That's what's got me going. It's got me on my feet, got my endurance going, and got my attitude changed, and that's the whole name of the game, isn't it? To try to get that active lifestyle back.
We have one video, and it was with Barry and I walking with him side by side. And it was the reason why it was so exciting, and you can even see Shannon in the background amazed, because that was right after we got him off the treadmill, and all of a sudden he was in so much extension, sort of postural extension, and his gait pattern was so good, it was so normal looking. And it was really exciting for all of us, and for him especially.
Within the last 5 or 6 months, I've been able to self-transfer using a sling and a ceiling track from my chair to a bed, which is incredible because I was, 5.5 years with somebody in my space helping me out every night to get into bed, and it was just after I got back with the exoskeleton legs, and I said, I was just walking. There's no reason why I can't do this. I've got my privacy back at night. I'm looking forward to the next step for recovery.
Mentally, I'm nowhere near the same person as I was. And that hurts to not be the same person, so I have to just take different strategies. Unfortunately, I don't feel I'll ever be able to return to hockey. I wouldn't be able to balance on the skate blades, that precise balance to edge and to cut and turn, just because my feet are gone. And that's a loss that I have to take and move forward with. And I was very depressed about that for a while, but then I started coaching again and reading hockey magazines and following it just the way I used to. People need to see examples like myself and other people that improve, that it's there, that it can be done, and the technologies are out there. And then there's professionals like Shannon, Janelle, and Barry, and those people, they're ready and they're trained to make you a more functional human being again.